Hello and welcome back to my channel. I am Greg Jackson, self-proclaimed attorney extraordinaire, a co-host on the weekly radio talk show program, Let's Talk About It, and a general in the Let's Talk Nation. Hey, listen, as always, I appreciate you tuning into my channel. And this channel, as always, is to entertain, educate, and inform viewers such as yourself about topics that are going on in the world. Today, though, something a little bit different, a little bit of free flow of thought. Something that just recently hit the press, it's hot off the press, is Brian Flores. The coach of the Miami Dolphins, or the former coach of the Miami Dolphins, has filed suit against the NFL and 3 NFL teams. And so I wanted to talk to you a little bit because there's very few times when you have a situation that includes sports and law. And the reason why this is of particular interest to me is because Brian Flores has indicated that the NFL has racially discriminatory hiring practices that are now keeping him out of the league. What's also interesting is that Brian Flores is probably one of the more successful football coaches for the Miami Dolphins over the past 2 decades. He's the only coach since 2003, I believe it is, that has gone with back-to-back winning seasons. And so the fact that he's no longer coaching with the Dolphins is interesting to say the least. So here's the story. Brian Flores, once again, coach for the Dolphins. He was terminated this year. And what he said is that he was set up for failure from the beginning. He said that the owner of the Dolphins basically came to him and offered him $100,000 for every game that he lost. Now, you wonder, well, why would they want to do that? Well, if you remember, the team with the worst record in the NFL and the NBA, they typically get the first draft pick. And so the owner apparently came to him and wanted him to have a losing season so they could get the #1 draft pick, which Brian Flores, being the competitor that he is, trained under Bill Belichick, came up under the Patriot system. He's not about losing just because. And so with this thought and this idea of losing, he just wasn't buying it. So obviously he didn't go with that. And he said because of that, he was blackballed, so to speak, and that he was terminated because he didn't play ball. He also said that there was another circumstance or situation where they brought in a quarterback that they wanted for the Miami Dolphins, and the coach is not supposed to meet with these players beforehand, but the owner had him to come to his yacht and say, oh, by the way, the player is actually on his way, and Brian Flores left. He didn't want to be a part of it. And so he wasn't playing the game, so to speak. And so because of that, he said that he was terminated, and the reason that he was terminated is racially based. So what did that bring us? So it brings us to what he's been doing over the past couple of weeks since he's been terminated from the Dolphins. And what he did was he interviewed with a couple of teams, actually 2 teams. One was the New York Giants and the other was the Broncos. And so Brian Flores, he interviewed with the Broncos, and according to him, John Elway came, wasn't prepared, said that they'd been out all night drinking and things like that. And then come to find out he didn't get the job. Then he also interviewed with the Giants, and so he interviewed with the Giants. He went through the whole process. And the interesting thing is that Bill Belichick sent him a text. And then the text that said, congratulations, looks like you're being looked at by the Giants and some other team. I can't remember the other team right now. And so when Brian Flores texted Bill Belichick back to say, hey, was this meant for me? Bill Belichick apologized profusely and said, you know what, I apologize. This was for the other guy that they were considering, who they ended up hiring. And so Brian Flores, who was the cream of the crop, if you ask me, as it stands with the Miami Dolphins for the past couple of years, was not offered the job with the Giants also. So where did that kind of leave him? So I guess he just kind of sat back and he thought, and I think after the Giants interview, he contacted a law firm and basically said, listen, I've been interviewing with these teams, I'm not getting the job. And it appears to me, if I'm Brian Flores, it appears to me that they're following this Rooney Rule, which the Rooney Rule tries to make sure that there is diversity within the head office and the coaching staff. But he said, the Rooney Rule has now become a way for teams just to check the box, so to speak. And although we have this rule, coaches who are minorities, particularly African American, aren't getting the opportunities to coach and be hired in this league. And so, Brian Flores probably made a very tough decision and decided to sue the NFL, the big NFL, and 3 teams, the Dolphins, the Giants, and the Broncos. And so that kind of leaves Brian Flores in a very interesting position, kind of like Colin Kaepernick, when he talked about kneeling, which I didn't agree with that, but that's a story for a whole nother day, and how Colin Kaepernick has kind of been on the outs with the NFL. It's my prediction, or it's my belief, that Brian Flores is probably going to find it hard to get a job in the NFL at this time, now that he has filed suit against the NFL and the other teams, saying that they're not fair. And these other teams, they've come out and they vehemently have supported their positions for the coaches that they did end up hiring, and the stances that they took in not hiring Brian Flores. But Brian Flores has indicated that this isn't for the him and the now, that this is for the future of the league. And if that is the case, I salute and I applaud Brian Flores for that, because he's saying that if this situation is taking place now, the steps that I take is hopefully going to make the league a better place for minorities in the head office as well as on the sideline. And so this is going to be a very interesting case to continue to follow. You know, where it goes from here, I don't know. I don't know if a judge will throw the case out. I don't know if there's going to be any real merits to the case, but it appears and it sounds as if, at the very least, the NFL has been put on notice that its hiring practices of minorities, particularly African Americans, is being challenged and needs to be looked at to ensure that folks as talented and as skilled as Brian Flores is, has a place and finds a place on the sideline as a head coach like Mike Tomlin in the NFL. So listen, I hope that you enjoyed this video. Like I said, it's a little bit of free flow of thought. I typically don't do videos in this fashion. I kind of have a thing that I talk about the law and all of the other things and some interesting topics and, you know, get rich and, you know, all of the other things. But this is a very interesting topic to me because a lot of folks find themselves in a position where they feel like, you know, maybe I didn't get that job because of the color of my skin. And so to see this gentleman at this level, at one of the highest levels of sports, to have to file a lawsuit like this, once again, it's going to be very interesting to watch. Listen, if you want to see more videos like this, I want you to hit that like button. I want you to subscribe, and I want you to be a part of Let's Talk Nation. Let's Talk Nation is not only broadcast through WOKB 1680 here in the Central Florida area, but we're also found on iHeart Radio as well as Spotify under Let's Talk Nation USA. So until next time, you've been listening to me, the General, Greg Jackson. Until next time, be good.